She was just a small-town mechanic trying to make ends meet. When a homeless man's RV broke down in her shop's parking lot, everyone told her to call a tow truck and send him away. But she saw something in his eyes, desperation, mixed with dignity. So she fixed it, for free. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. 3 days later, 2 FBI agents appeared at her door with a file folder and a single question. Do you know who you just helped? What she discovered would turn her quiet life upside down and reveal that sometimes one act of kindness can unlock secrets the government has been hiding for decades. The Arizona sun beat down mercilessly on the cracked asphalt of Hartley's auto repair, turning the air thick and shimmering. It was the kind of heat that made even breathing feel like work. Maya Hartley wiped the sweat from her forehead with the back of her grease-stained hand, leaving a dark smudge across her temple. She didn't notice. She was too focused on the transmission spread out before her on the workbench, a puzzle of gears and metal that most people in Copper Ridge, Arizona would have given up on hours ago. But Maya wasn't most people. At 36, she'd spent nearly 2 decades elbow-deep in engines, learning to read machines the way others read books. Her father had taught her before he passed, back when this shop was still called Hartley and Daughter. Now it was just Hartley's, just her. The faded sign out front needed repainting, the waiting room chairs were held together with duct tape, and the coffee maker only worked if you hit it twice on the left side. But the work was honest, and in a town like Copper Ridge, population 3847, that counted for something. The bell above the door chimed. Maya glanced up to see her part-timer, Tommy Vasquez, a high school kid who worked weekends for gas money, shuffling in with his phone glued to his hand. "Mrs. Sen's Camry is done," she called out without looking up. "Keys are on the hook. She's coming at 4. "Cool," he mumbled, eyes never leaving his screen. Yeah, kids these days. But Tommy was a good kid. Showed up on time, didn't complain. That was rare. She was torquing down the final bolt on the transmission when she heard it. A horrible grinding sound, metal on metal, followed by a loud pop and then the unmistakable hiss of steam. She straightened up, listening. The noise was coming from outside. Through the open bay door she saw it, an ancient RV, faded white with rust blooming along the wheel wells, limping into her parking lot like a wounded animal. Black smoke poured from the hood. The engine made a sound like a dying lawnmower. It lurched to a stop just outside the bay, shuddered once, and went silent. Maya set down her wrench and walked outside. The heat hit her like a wall. The RV's driver's side door creaked open, and a man climbed out slowly, stiffly, like every movement hurt. He was older, maybe 60, maybe 70, it was hard to tell, with a sun-weathered face, scraggly gray beard, and clothes that seen better years. His jeans were patched at the knees. His flannel shirt was 2 sizes too big. On his feet were boots so worn the soles were peeling away. But it was his eyes that caught her attention. Pale blue, sharp, alert. The eyes of someone who'd seen too much and remembered it, all of it. "Ma'am," he said, voice rough but polite. "I'm real sorry to bother you. My rig just gave out on me. I don't have much money, but I can—" "Pop the hood," Maya said. He blinked. "What?" "Pop the hood. Let me take a look." The man hesitated, then nodded slowly. He reached back inside the cab and pulled the release lever. The hood groaned open with a metallic screech. Maya stepped forward and peered inside. The engine bay was a disaster. Oil everywhere, coolant leaking from a cracked hose. The serpentine belt had shredded completely, and from the look of things, the water pump had seized. "When's the last time you had this serviced?" she asked. The man scratched his beard. Honestly, I don't remember. She glanced back at him. He stood there in the blazing sun, hands shoved in his pockets, looking at the ground. Ashamed, trying not to be. "What's your name?" Maya asked. "Eugene," he said quietly. "Eugene Calloway." "Well, Mr. Calloway, your water pump's shot, your belt's gone, and you've got a coolant leak. That's not counting whatever else is hiding in there." She wiped her hands on a rag. "This is going to take some work." Eugene nodded slowly. "Like I said, I don't have much, maybe $50. I know that won't cover it, but I didn't ask how much you had." He looked up at her, confused. Maya crossed her arms. "Where are you headed?" "Nowhere in particular. Just moving." She studied him for a long moment. There was something about him, something that didn't add up. His clothes were old, sure, but they were clean. His hands were calloused, but his nails were trimmed. He spoke with a careful kind of grammar, the kind you didn't hear from someone who'd been on the streets their whole life. This man had a story, and whatever it wasn't simple. "Pull it in the bay," Maya said, turning back toward the shop. "Ma'am, I can't afford it. I didn't ask if you could afford it. I said pull it in." Eugene stared at her, something flickering across his face. Relief? Disbelief? Maybe both. "Thank you," he said quietly. She waved him off. "Just park it inside before it bakes out here." Tommy looked up from his phone as Eugene carefully maneuvered the sputtering RV into the garage bay. Boss? You taking charity cases now?" Maya shot him a look. "You got a problem with that?" Tommy raised his hands. "No, ma'am, just asking." "Then stop asking and grab me a coolant flush kit." As Eugene climbed out of the RV, Maya grabbed her diagnostic scanner and clipboard. She'd seen plenty of broken-down vehicles in her time, but something about this one felt different. The RV itself was old, maybe a 1987 Winnebago Chieftain if she had to guess, the kind of rig you'd see in old magazines. But despite the rust and wear, it had been maintained. Not perfectly, but carefully. Someone had been keeping this thing alive for a long time. She walked around to the back and noticed something odd. The rear license plate was current, registered in New Mexico, but the registration sticker looked new, fresh. "Mr. Calloway," she called out, "how long have you been living in this?" Eugene appeared from the other side of the RV. "About 4 years now." "And before that?" He paused. "Before that, I had a house." Maya didn't press. People ended up on the road for all kinds of reasons. Job loss, divorce, medical bills. It wasn't her business. She popped open the RV's side panel to check the electrical system. Everything inside was neat. Too neat. The wiring was color-coded, labeled, professional. "You do this yourself?" she asked, pointing at the panel. Eugene nodded. "Used to work with electronics, long time ago." "Must have been good at it." He smiled faintly. "I tried to be." Maya spent the next 20 minutes running diagnostics, her mind cataloging every issue. Water pump, serpentine belt, coolant hoses, thermostat probably needed replacing too, and the oil. God, the oil looked like it hadn't been changed in a year. This wasn't a quick fix. This was a full day's work, maybe 2. She walked back to where Eugene stood near the door, arms folded, watching her with quiet intensity. "All right," Maya said. "Here's the deal. You need a new water pump, belt, hoses, thermostat, and a full fluid flush. I can get the parts by tomorrow morning, but it's going to take me most of the day to finish." Eugene's face fell. "I understand. I'll figure something out." "I'm not done," Maya said. "I'll do the work. No charge." Eugene's eyes widened. "No, I can't let you—" "I'm not letting you do anything. I'm choosing to." "But why?" Maya looked at him, really looked at him. At the worn boots and the careful posture,
at the way he spoke, like every word mattered, at the eyes that held more than they showed. Because somebody helped me once when I needed it, and I'm still here because of it. Eugene's throat worked. For a moment, he looked like he might cry. Instead, he just nodded. "Thank you," he whispered. Maya turned back toward the RV. "You got somewhere to stay tonight?" I'll manage. There's a diner 2 blocks down, Maggie's. Tell her I sent you. She'll give you a meal. I don't want to be a burden." "Then don't be. Just let people help you." Eugene stood there for a moment longer, then nodded again and shuffled toward the door. As he left, Tommy sidled up beside Maya. "You know, people are going to talk, right? Let them. I'm serious. Half this town already thinks you're too soft." Maya picked up a wrench. "Then they can fix their own damn cars." Tommy grinned. "Fair enough." As the sun dipped lower and the desert air began to cool, Maya Hartley got to work. She didn't know Eugene Calloway's full story, didn't know where he'd come from or why he was alone, but she knew what it felt like to be invisible, to be written off. And she wasn't about to let that happen to anyone else. Not on her watch. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Maya was back at the shop before sunrise. She had always been an early riser, a habit from her military days that never quite left her. The desert air was still cool, almost pleasant before the sun turned it into an oven. She fired up the coffee maker, 2 hits on the left side, just like always, and pulled on her work gloves. The parts she'd ordered were set to arrive by 9. Until then, she could start stripping down the damaged components. By the time the sun crested the horizon, she had already removed the shredded serpentine belt and was working on unbolting the water pump. The seized mechanism had fused itself pretty thoroughly to the engine block. It would take patience. The bell chimed. She glanced up, expecting Tommy. Instead, she saw Diane Morrison, owner of Morrison's Diner, across the street. Diane was in her 50s, with short silver hair and the kind of no-nonsense expression that came from decades of dealing with difficult customers. "Good morning, Diane," Maya called out, not stopping her work. "Maya." Diane walked closer, arms crossed. "Heard you took in a vagrant yesterday." Maya's jaw tightened, but she kept her voice even. "Took in a customer whose vehicle broke down."
Customer implies payment. Customer implies service, which I provided. Diane sighed. "Look, I'm not trying to tell you how to run your business." "Good, then don't." "But people are talking. You know how this town is." Maya set down her wrench and straightened up, meeting Diane's gaze. "Let me ask you something. When your walk-in freezer died last summer and I drove out at midnight to fix it so you wouldn't lose a week's worth of inventory, did I charge you overtime?" Diane shifted uncomfortably. "That was different." "How?" "Because we're what? Neighbors? Friends?" Maya's voice stayed calm, but there was steel underneath. Eugene Calloway needed help. I helped him. That's it. Diane looked at the RV, then back at Maya. Her expression softened slightly. "You've got a good heart, Maya. Too good, maybe. Just be careful. You don't know anything about that man." "I know he needed help. That's enough." After Diane left, Maya returned to the water pump, frustration simmering beneath her skin. Copper Ridge was a small town. People looked out for each other, but only if you fit a certain mold. If you were the right kind of person with the right kind of problems. Eugene Calloway, with his tattered clothes and home on wheels, didn't fit that mold. Neither did Maya, if she was being honest. A female mechanic, former Army, 36 and unmarried. She'd heard the whispers at the grocery store, seen the looks at the town council meetings. She was respected for her skills, but kept at arm's length for her differences. Maybe that's why she'd helped Eugene, because she knew what it felt like to be on the outside. The parts arrived at 9:15, delivered by a bored-looking courier who barely glanced at her as she signed. Maya inspected each component carefully: water pump, serpentine belt, thermostat, coolant hoses. Everything looked good. She was installing the new water pump when Eugene appeared in the doorway. He looked better than yesterday. Still worn, still weathered, but cleaner. His beard was trimmed, his hair combed back. He carried a paper bag in one hand. "Morning, ma'am," he said quietly. "Mr. Calloway." Maya nodded without stopping her work. "Sleep okay?" "Yes, ma'am. Maggie at the diner let me wash up in the back. She's a kind woman." "She is." Eugene hesitated, then held up the paper bag. "I brought you breakfast. It's not much, just some biscuits and coffee. Figured you might not have eaten yet." Maya paused, genuinely surprised. "You didn't have to do that." "I know, but you're doing this work for free. Least I can do is make sure you don't go hungry doing it." She set down her socket wrench and walked over, wiping her hands on her coveralls. Eugene handed her the bag. Inside were 2 homemade biscuits wrapped in wax paper and a thermos of coffee that was still hot. She said thank you and meant it. They ate in comfortable silence. Eugene sat on an overturned crate near the door, watching her work with quiet fascination. He didn't ask questions or make small talk, just observed. After a while, he spoke. "You're very skilled. I've been doing this a long time. I can tell. The way you move, efficient, confident, military." Maya glanced at him. "What makes you say that?" "The way you carry yourself, the precision. I've known a few veterans in my time." She nodded slowly. "Army. 6 years. Worked on helicopters mostly. Blackhawks." "That's impressive." "It was necessary. My dad died when I was 20, left me this shop and a mountain of debt. I joined up to make enough money to save it." "Did it work?" "Barely. Took every penny I saved and then some. But, yeah, it worked." Eugene was quiet for a moment. Then, "Your father would be proud." Something in Maya's chest tightened. She didn't respond, just focused on the engine. By noon, she had replaced the water pump, installed the new belt and hoses, and was bleeding the coolant system. The temperature outside had climbed past 100 degrees, turning the garage into a furnace despite the industrial fan running full blast. Maya's shirt was soaked through with sweat. Her arms ached, but she kept going. Eugene had disappeared around 11, saying he needed to take a walk. When he returned an hour later, he was carrying 2 bottles of cold water and a sandwich from Maggie's. "I thought you might need this," he said, offering them to her. Maya took the water gratefully and drained half the bottle in one go. "You're going to go broke buying me food." "I'm already broke," Eugene said with a faint smile. "Might as well spend what little I have on something worthwhile." She studied him as she ate. There was something almost formal about the way he spoke. Educated, deliberate. This wasn't a man who'd spent his whole life on the streets. "Can I ask you something?" Maya said. "Of course." "What did you do? Before the RV, I mean. Before all this." Eugene's expression shifted just for a second, before settling back into calm. "I was an engineer. Electrical systems, mostly. Worked on some government contracts back in the day." "What kind of contracts?" He hesitated. "The kind I signed papers promising never to talk about." Maya raised an eyebrow. "Classified?" "Very. And now you're living in a 30-year-old RV." Eugene looked down at his hands. "Life has a way of taking unexpected turns." She wanted to press further, but something in his eyes told her not to. Whatever had happened to Eugene Calloway, whatever had brought him from government engineer to homeless drifter, it wasn't a story he was ready to share. And that was okay. Maya knew about secrets, about pasts that didn't fit nicely into conversation. By 3 in the afternoon, the RV was nearly done. Maya ran a full diagnostic, checking for error codes and system failures. Everything came back clean. She test-fired the engine, and it roared to life smoothly. No grinding, no smoke, no hesitation. "There we go," she said, satisfied. Eugene stood beside her, staring at the RV like he couldn't quite believe it. "It sounds perfect." "It's not perfect, but it'll get you where you need to go." He turned to her, and for the first time she saw his eyes glisten. "I don't know how to thank you." "You already did, with the biscuits." He laughed, a short, surprised sound. "That hardly seems fair." Maya shut off the engine and faced him. "Mr. Calloway, I didn't do this expecting anything in return. I did it because it was the right thing to do. That's all." Eugene looked at her for a long moment. Then he extended his hand. She shook it. His grip was firm, steady. "If you're ever in trouble, and I mean real trouble, you find me. Somehow, some way. You find me, and I'll help you. I promise you that." Maya didn't know what to say, so she just nodded. Eugene climbed into the RV, fired up the engine one more time, and rolled slowly out of the bay. He paused at the edge of the parking lot, gave her one last nod through the window, and then disappeared down the road. Maya stood there in the fading afternoon light, watching him go. Tommy emerged from the office, munching on chips. "So, that's it? Guy just drives off into the sunset?" "Yeah, that's it." "Weird. Maybe." But as she turned back toward the shop, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. 3 days later, the FBI came knocking. Maya was under a Honda Civic replacing a leaking oil pan when she heard the footsteps. Not the usual shuffle of customers or the heavy work boots of Tommy. These were different, deliberate, measured, the kind of footsteps that meant business. She rolled out from under the vehicle, wiping her hands on a rag, and froze. 2 people stood in her garage bay, a man and a woman, both dressed in dark suits that looked painfully out of place in the Arizona heat. The man was tall, maybe 6'2", with close-cropped gray hair and the rigid posture of someone who'd spent time in the military. The woman was younger, early 30s, with sharp eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses and an expression that gave away nothing. Both wore badges clipped to their belts. FBI. Maya's stomach dropped, but she kept her face neutral. Years in the Army had taught her how to stay calm when your heart was racing. "Can I help you?" she asked, standing slowly. The man stepped forward. "Maya Hartley. That's me." He pulled out a leather credential case and flipped it open. "I'm Special Agent Derek Finch. This is Special Agent Carla Reeves. We're with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. We need to ask you some questions." Maya's mind raced. FBI. Here. Why? She ran through every possible scenario: unpaid taxes, some old Army paperwork issue, a customer with a warrant, but nothing made sense. "What questions about?" she asked carefully. Agent Reeves stepped forward, pulling a tablet from her bag. She swiped through something, then turned the screen toward Maya. It showed a grainy photograph of an RV. Maya's heart skipped. It was Eugene's RV. "Do you recognize this vehicle?" Reeves asked. She chose her words carefully. "Yeah, it came through here a few days ago. Needed repairs." "And you performed those repairs?" "That's what I do. I'm a mechanic." Finch's eyes narrowed slightly. "Can you tell us about the owner?" "Not much to tell. Older guy.
RV broke down. I fixed it. He left. Did he give you a name? Maya hesitated. Something about this felt wrong, but lying to federal agents wasn't an option. Eugene Calloway. The two agents exchanged a glance. Something unspoken passed between them. What else did he tell you? Reeves asked, her tone sharpening. Nothing. We didn't exactly have a long conversation. He needed help. I helped him. That's it. Finch took a step closer. Miss Hartley, this is important. Did Eugene Calloway give you anything? A package, a drive, papers, anything at all? No, nothing. Maya's pulse quickened. What's this about? Did he mention where he was going? No. Did he say anything about his past, his work? Maya's mind flashed back to the conversation. I was an engineer, electrical systems mostly, worked on some government contracts. But something told her to keep that to herself. She didn't talk much, just thanked me and left. Agent Reeves studied her for a long, uncomfortable moment. Then she tapped something on her tablet and showed Maya another image. This one was a younger Eugene Calloway, maybe 20 years younger, clean-shaven, wearing a suit and an ID badge that was partially redacted. This man, Reeves said, is Dr. Eugene Calloway, former senior engineer for a classified defense project. 3 years ago, he disappeared, walked away from his life, his career, everything. We've been looking for him ever since. Maya stared at the photo. The resemblance was unmistakable, but the difference was staggering. This man looked confident, polished, important, not like someone who'd end up living in a beat-up RV. Why? Why did he disappear? Finch's expression hardened. That's classified. Then why are you here? Because, Reeves said, Dr. Calloway had access to extremely sensitive information that in the wrong hands could compromise national security. We need to find him. Maya's throat dried. And you think I know where he is? We think, Finch said, that you might be the last person who saw him. The weight of that statement hung in the air like smoke. I already told you everything I know, Maya said. He showed up, I fixed his RV, he left. I have no idea where he went. Reeves pulled out a business card and handed it to Maya. If he contacts you again, and we believe he might, you need to call us immediately. Why would he contact me again? Because you helped him, Finch said simply. And in our experience, people like Dr. Calloway remember kindness, especially when they've been running for a long time. Maya took the card, her fingers trembling slightly. She forced herself to meet Finch's gaze. Is he dangerous? No, Reeves said quickly. He's not dangerous, but the people looking for him might be. That sent a chill down Maya's spine. What people? That's all we can tell you right now, Finch said. Just, if he reaches out, call us. And in the meantime, be careful. Pay attention to anything unusual. Strangers asking questions, vehicles you don't recognize, anything. Maya nodded slowly, though her mind was spinning. The agents turned to leave, but Reeves paused at the bay door and looked back. For what it's worth, Miss Hartley, what you did, helping him, that was a good thing. Just be smart about it. Then they were gone. Maya stood alone in the garage, the business card clutched in her hand, her heart pounding against her ribs. Tommy appeared from the office, eyes wide. Dude, was that the FBI? Yeah. What did they want? Maya looked down at the card. Special Agent Carla Reeves, Counterintelligence Division, a phone number, an email address. They wanted to know about Eugene. The RV guy? Yeah. Tommy let out a low whistle. Man, I knew that dude was sketchy. He wasn't sketchy, Maya snapped. He was just in trouble. Yeah, Apparently the federal kind of trouble. Maya didn't respond. She walked to the office, sat down heavily in the creaky desk chair, and stared at the card. Dr. Eugene Calloway, Senior Engineer, Classified Defense Project. What the hell had he been working on? And why had he run? Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Thank you again for your help. You have a good heart. Stay safe. Maya's breath caught. She stared at the message, her thumb hovering over the screen. It had to be Eugene, but how did he get her number? She thought about the agent's warning. If he contacts you again, call us immediately. Her finger moved toward the call button on Agent Reeves's card, then stopped. Something about this didn't sit right. The way the agents had looked at each other, the way they'd avoided her questions, the way Reeves had said the people looking for him might be dangerous, not he might be dangerous. Eugene had been kind, polite, grateful. He'd brought her breakfast for God's sake. He didn't seem like a threat. He seemed like someone who was scared. Maya deleted the text without replying. She tucked the business card into her desk drawer and stood up, her jaw set. Whatever Eugene Calloway was running from, whatever secrets he carried, she wasn't the one to hand him over, not without knowing the full story. That night, Maya sat on the small porch behind her house, nursing a beer and watching the stars emerge over the desert. The air had finally cooled, bringing relief after another scorching day. Her phone sat on the table beside her, dark and silent. She kept replaying the conversation with the FBI agents in her head. Dr. Calloway had access to extremely sensitive information. What kind of information? Weapons? Surveillance technology? Something worse. And more importantly, why had he walked away from it? People don't just abandon careers like that. Not without a reason. A big one. Her phone buzzed. Another text from the unknown number. I'm sorry they came to see you. I hoped they wouldn't. You deserve better than to be dragged into this. Maya stared at the screen, her heart hammering. She typed quickly. Who's looking for you? 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again, then people who want to finish what I tried to stop. Maya's blood ran cold. What does that mean? No response. She waited 5 minutes, 10, 20. Nothing. Finally, she typed one more message. Are you safe? The response came immediately. For now. But you need to be careful. They'll be watching you. Maya set the phone down, her hands shaking. This wasn't over. Not even close. Whatever Eugene Calloway was involved in, whatever he ran from, it was bigger than a broken-down RV and a small-town mechanic. And now, whether she wanted it or not, Maya Hartley was part of it. She looked up at the stars, vast and indifferent, and wondered what she'd just gotten herself into. Inside the house, her laptop sat open on the kitchen table. After a moment's hesitation, she went inside and pulled up a search engine. She typed, Dr. Eugene Calloway, Defense Engineer. The results were sparse. A few academic papers from 15 years ago, a mention in the university alumni newsletter. Nothing recent, nothing useful. She tried another search, Classified Defense Projects, 2020. The results were vague. Articles about budget allocations, congressional hearings, think pieces about military technology. Nothing concrete. Frustrated, she closed the laptop. The FBI had said Eugene wasn't dangerous, but they'd also said people were looking for him. Dangerous people. Maya thought about the text. People who want to finish what I tried to stop. What had he tried to stop? And what would happen if they found him? She finished her beer, locked the doors, and went to bed. But sleep didn't come easy. And in the darkness, she couldn't shake the feeling that somewhere out there, Eugene Calloway was still running. And that very soon, she might have to decide whose side she was on.
The black sedan appeared on Tuesday morning. Maya noticed it immediately, a sleek Dodge Charger with tinted windows, parked across the street from her shop in the lot of the abandoned hardware store. It had been there when she arrived at 7, and it was still there at noon. She tried to tell herself it was nothing, just someone passing through. Maybe a lost tourist or a real estate agent scoping out properties. But the way it sat there, engine off, windows dark, felt deliberate, watchful. "They'll be watching you," Eugene had warned. Maya focused on her work, rebuilding the carburetor on a 1978 Ford pickup, but her eyes kept drifting to the window. The sedan didn't move, didn't leave, just sat there like a patient predator. Tommy noticed it too. "That car's been there all morning," he said, wiping his hands on a rag. "Think it's the cops?" "Cops don't drive cars like that," Maya muttered. "Not around here, anyway." "FBI?" "Maybe." "Should we, do something?" Maya set down her wrench. "Like what? Walk over and knock on the window?" Tommy shrugged. "I don't know, it's just creepy." It was creepy, and it was working. Maya felt the weight of unseen eyes on her all morning, making her second-guess every movement, every conversation. By 2 o'clock, she'd had enough. She walked out of the shop, crossed the street, and headed straight for the sedan. Her heart pounded, but she kept her stride confident, purposeful. If someone was going to surveil her, they could at least have the decency to do it to her face. She was 20 feet away when the engine roared to life. The sedan pulled out smoothly, turned onto Main Street, and disappeared around the corner without speeding, without urgency, just gone. Maya stood in the empty parking lot, fists clenched, frustration boiling in her chest. Whoever they were, they wanted her to know she was being watched. This wasn't about subtlety. This was intimidation. She walked back to the shop, pulled out her phone, and stared at Agent Reeves' business card, still tucked in her wallet. One call. That's all it would take. Tell them about the texts. Tell them about the surveillance. Let the FBI handle it. But something stopped her. Eugene's words echoed in her mind. "People who want to finish what I tried to stop." The FBI had said Eugene wasn't dangerous, but they'd also been evasive, careful. They'd asked questions without answering any of hers. What if the people watching her weren't the good guys? What if the FBI wasn't the only agency looking for Eugene Calloway? Maya slipped the card back into her wallet and made a different decision. That evening, she drove to the Copper Ridge Public Library, a small brick building that smelled like old paper and air conditioning. The librarian, Mrs. Kowalski, looked up from her desk with mild surprise. "Maya Hartley, haven't seen you in here since high school." "Hey, Mrs. K, mind if I use one of the computers?" "Help yourself. They're slow, but they work." Maya chose a terminal in the back corner, away from windows, and logged in using a guest account. She wasn't sure if someone could track her searches, but using the library felt safer than her home computer. She started with the basics. Eugene Calloway, engineer, military. The results were frustratingly generic. A few old academic articles, mentions in conference proceedings from the early 2000s, nothing recent, nothing that explained why he disappeared or who might be after him. She tried a different approach. Classified defense projects, whistleblowers, 2022. That pulled up more results. Articles about government contractors, congressional investigations, a handful of names, engineers and scientists who'd raised concerns about ethics violations, cost overruns, dangerous technology. One article caught her eye. Pentagon project faces scrutiny after engineers' allegations. Maya clicked through. The article was from 3 years ago, right around when Eugene would have disappeared. It referenced a classified program called Sentinel Protocol, designed to develop autonomous surveillance systems. An unnamed engineer had raised concerns about the technology being weaponized beyond its intended purpose. The project had been quietly shelved after a congressional review. No charges filed, no public hearings, just buried. Maya sat back,
her mind racing. Autonomous surveillance, weaponization, an engineer who tried to stop something. Could Eugene have been that whistleblower? She searched for more information about Sentinel Protocol, but everything was either classified or scrubbed. The few articles that mentioned it were vague, filled with bureaucratic language that said nothing. Frustrated, she tried one more search: Eugene Calloway, New Mexico. The results showed a property listing from 4 years ago, a small house in Los Alamos, New Mexico, sold at auction. The listing mentioned the previous owner had abandoned the property. Los Alamos, home to the National Laboratory, where some of the country's most sensitive research happened. It fit. Maya wrote down the address, cleared her browser history, and logged off. As she walked out of the library, the sun was setting, painting the desert sky in shades of orange and purple. Her truck sat alone in the parking lot. Except, it wasn't alone. The black sedan was back, parked 3 spaces away. Maya's blood ran cold. She forced herself to walk normally, to not react, to not give them the satisfaction of seeing her fear. She climbed into her truck, started the engine, and pulled out of the parking lot. In her rear-view mirror, the sedan followed. Not close, not threatening, just there. She drove toward home, taking her usual route, her hands tight on the wheel. The sedan maintained its distance, always 3 or 4 cars back, never closing the gap. At a red light, Maya made a decision. Instead of turning toward her house, she went straight, heading toward the highway. The sedan followed. She accelerated, pushing the old truck to 60, then 70. The sedan kept pace effortlessly.
Maya's heart hammered. She wasn't going to outrun them, not in a 15-year-old pickup against a performance vehicle, but she could outstubborn them. She took the exit for Route 87, a 2-lane highway that cut through empty desert for 40 miles before reaching the next town. If they wanted to follow her into the middle of nowhere, fine. Let them waste their gas. 20 miles out, with nothing but scrub brush and darkness around her, Maya pulled off onto a dirt road. It was barely more than a trail, used by off-roaders and teenagers looking for privacy. The sedan slowed, but didn't follow. It stopped at the edge of the paved road, headlights illuminating the desert. Maya killed her engine and waited, watching in her mirror. For 5 long minutes, nothing happened. Then the sedan's door opened. A figure stepped out, tall, broad-shouldered, backlit by the headlights, definitely male. He stood there, hands in his pockets, just watching. Maya's hand moved to the glove compartment, where she kept an old Block 19 from her Army days. She didn't draw it, just rested her hand on it. The figure didn't approach. After another minute, he got back in the sedan, made a 3-point turn, and drove away. Maya sat in the darkness, breathing hard, adrenaline coursing through her veins. This wasn't the FBI. FBI agents didn't play games like this. They didn't follow civilians into the desert and stare them down. This was something else. She waited another 20 minutes to make sure they were really gone, then drove back to town using back roads, checking her mirrors constantly. When she finally reached her house, every light was on, exactly as she'd left them. She did a quick sweep of the property, checking windows and doors. Everything was secure. Inside, she locked the deadbolt, drew the curtains, and sat at her kitchen table with her phone. The unknown number hadn't texted again, but she needed answers. She typed carefully, "Who are the people following me?" The response came within seconds. Private contractors. They work for the same people who wanted Sentinel Protocol operational. They don't follow rules. Maya's stomach twisted. What do they want? They think I have evidence. Documentation that could expose what they tried to do. They're wrong. I destroyed everything before I left. But they don't believe that. Why are they watching me?
Because I helped you. They think I might contact you again. They think you might know where I am. Maya swallowed hard. Do you? No. And it needs to stay that way. The less you know, the safer you are. I'm already not safe, Maya typed back. They followed me tonight, cornered me on a dirt road. The 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. I'm so sorry. I never wanted this for you. Then help me understand. What was Sentinel Protocol? What were they trying to do? A long pause. Then, they built something that could watch anyone, anywhere, without warrants, without oversight. And they wanted to give it teeth, autonomous weapons capability. I found out they planned to deploy it domestically. I couldn't let that happen. Maya stared at the screen, her mind reeling. Surveillance? Weapons? Domestic deployment. Eugene hadn't just walked away from a job. He'd walked away from a nightmare. What do I do? She typed. Stay visible. Stay public. They won't move against you if there are witnesses. And if anything happens, anything at all, you go to the FBI. Not the contractors, the FBI. How do I know who's who? Trust your instincts. You'll know. The conversation ended there. No goodbye. Just silence. Maya sat behind her phone and looked around her small house, the worn furniture, the family photos on the wall, the life she'd built from nothing. 3 days ago, she'd fixed a stranger's RV out of kindness. Now she was caught in the middle of something that could destroy her. But as she sat there in the quiet, she realized something. She wasn't angry at Eugene. She was angry at the people who'd made him run. And if they thought she'd be intimidated into silence, they were wrong. Maya Hartley had survived war zones, survived poverty, survived being dismissed and underestimated her entire life. She'd be damned if she let faceless contractors scare her now. The break-in happened on Thursday night. Maya had worked late, finishing a transmission replacement that had taken longer than expected. By the time she locked up the shop, it was past 9. The streetlights cast long shadows across the empty parking lot, and the desert air had finally cooled to something bearable. She drove home on autopilot, her mind still churning through everything that had happened over the past week. The surveillance had continued, different vehicles now, rotating shifts, but always there. She'd spotted a gray pickup Tuesday afternoon, a white van Wednesday morning. They weren't even trying to hide anymore. When she pulled into her driveway, something felt wrong. The porch light was off. She always left it on. Maya killed her engine and sat in the darkness, every sense on high alert. Her hand moved instinctively to the Glock in her glove compartment. She'd started carrying it with her everywhere. The front door was locked. No broken windows, no obvious signs of entry. But the light was off. She pulled out her phone and dialed 911, keeping her thumb over the call button without pressing it. Then she grabbed the Glock, chambered around, and approached the house, slowly. The door was locked. She used her key, pushed it open with her foot, and stayed outside, listening. Silence. She flipped the light switch. Nothing happened. The power was out. Maya's pulse quickened. She moved through the house room by room, weapon raised, clearing corners the way she'd been trained. Living room? Clear. Kitchen? Clear. Bedroom? Clear. But when she reached her small home office, she stopped cold. Her laptop was open. She'd left it closed.
The desk drawers had been searched, not ransacked, but carefully gone through. Papers were slightly out of place. Her file cabinet showed scratches around the lock. Someone had been here, looking for something. Maya backed out of the room, heart hammering, and went straight to the breaker box in the garage. Someone had flipped the main breaker. She switched it back on and the lights hummed to life. She returned to the office, Glock still in hand, and checked her laptop. It was still password protected, but she had no way of knowing if someone had tried to access it. Her phone rang, making her jump. Unknown number. She answered, voice steady despite her fear. What? Get out of the house. Eugene's voice was urgent, clipped. Right now. They were already here. They searched. That wasn't them. That was me. Maya froze. What? I needed to know if you were compromised, if they'd planted surveillance. Your house is clean, but you need to leave. Now. They're coming. Who's coming? The contractors. I triggered their alert system when I entered your property. They'll be there in less than 5 minutes. Maya's mind raced. Where do I go? North on Highway 60. 20 miles out, there's an old gas station called Desert Stop. It's abandoned. Meet me there. Eugene, trust me, please. The line went dead. Maya stood frozen for 3 seconds, weighing her options. Call the FBI, call the police, barricade herself inside and wait, or trust the man who just admitted to breaking into her house. She chose trust. She grabbed her go bag, a habit from her army days, always packed with essentials, threw in her laptop, and ran for her truck. As she pulled out of the driveway, headlights appeared in her rearview mirror, moving fast. The black sedan. Maya floored it, her old truck protesting as she pushed it to 70, then 80. The sedan gained easily, closing the distance between them. She blew through a stop sign, tires squealing, and merged onto Highway 60, heading north. Sparse traffic, open road, nowhere to hide. The sedan was right behind her now, high beams flooding her cabin. Then it rammed her. The impact sent her truck lurching forward, airbag sensor screaming warnings on the dashboard. Maya gripped the wheel, fighting to keep control. They rammed her again, harder this time. Her truck fishtailed, rear end sliding sideways. She corrected, adrenaline drowning out fear, every combat driving technique she'd ever learned flooding back. Ahead, she saw the turnoff for Desert Stop. The old gas station was dark, barely visible against the night sky. She cut the wheel hard, taking the exit at 60 miles per hour. The truck skidded onto the gravel access road, kicking up a cloud of dust. The sedan overshot the turn, brake lights flaring as it tried to slow down. Maya punched the accelerator, racing down the dark road toward the abandoned station. Her headlights illuminated rusted gas pumps and a collapsed awning. And Eugene's RV parked in the shadows. She skidded to a stop, grabbed her bag, and jumped out. Eugene emerged from the RV, moving with surprising speed for a man his age. Inside, now! They scrambled into the RV just as the sedan came roaring down the access road. Eugene slammed the door and locked it. The RV's interior was cramped but organized. A mobile command center with equipment Maya didn't recognize. Laptops, radio gears, surveillance monitors. "What is all this?" she gasped. "Insurance." Eugene moved to one of the monitors, fingers flying across a keyboard. 3 years of documentation, everything they tried to bury. The sedan screeched to a halt outside. Doors opened. "How many?" asked Maya, pulling out her Glock. 2, maybe 3. Eugene didn't look up from the screen. "They won't shoot. They want me alive. They think I still have the original files." "Do you?" "No, but they don't believe that." Footsteps crunched on gravel outside. A voice called out, cold and professional. "Dr. Calloway, we just want to talk." Eugene kept typing. "They want to talk me into a black site where I'll disappear. Come out and the woman doesn't get hurt." Maya's jaw tightened. "I'm not going anywhere." Eugene finally looked at her, his pale blue eyes intense. "You shouldn't be here. This isn't your fight."
You made it my fight when you walked into my shop. Fair enough. He pressed the final key, and all the monitors lit up simultaneously. Done. Done what? Sent everything to every major news outlet, Congressional Oversight Committee, and Inspector General I could think of. Encrypted, time-stamped, irreversible. Eugene stood, moving to a cabinet, and pulled out what looked like a flare gun. Now we wait for the cavalry. What cavalry? The real FBI. I sent them our location, too. Outside, the negotiation had ended. Something metal struck the RV's door, a battering ram or crowbar. Maya raised her weapon. How long until they get here? 10 minutes, maybe 15. That's a long time, Maya said. Eugene loaded the flare gun. Then we make it longer. The door burst open. 2 men entered, both armed with tactical gear and suppressed pistols. The first one, tall, shaved head, dead eyes, swept the interior with his weapon. Hands up, both of you. Maya kept her Glock trained on him. FBI is on the way. The man smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. No, they're not.
Actually, Eugene said calmly, they are, along with CNN, the Washington Post, and the Senate Intelligence Committee. Check your phone. It should be blowing up right about now. The second contractor, shorter, stockier, pulled out his phone. His expression changed. Boss, we've got a problem. Shaved head's jaw tightened. What kind of problem? Media's reporting a major leak, classified surveillance program. They're naming Sentinel Protocol. For the first time, uncertainty flickered across Shaved Head's face. Eugene raised the flare gun. Your employers are about to be exposed, which means you're expendable. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to walk away, because in about 8 minutes, federal agents are going to arrive, and you really don't want to be here when they do. We have our orders. Your orders just became irrelevant. Sirens wailed in the distance. Multiple vehicles, approaching fast. The contractors exchanged glances. Years of training warred with self-preservation. Finally, Shaved Head lowered his weapon. This isn't over. Yes, Eugene said quietly. It is. The contractors backed out of the RV and disappeared into the night. 30 seconds later, the sedan peeled away in a spray of gravel. Maya lowered her Glock, hands shaking with adrenaline. Did that really just happen? Eugene set down the flare gun and slumped into a chair, suddenly looking every one of his years. It's over. Finally, over. The sirens grew louder. Red and blue lights painted the desert. FBI vehicles surrounded the gas station. Agents emerged with weapons drawn, shouting commands. Maya and Eugene stepped out of the RV, hands raised. Agent Reeves was there, looking simultaneously relieved and furious. Dr. Calloway, Miss Hartley, you've had quite an evening. Agent Reeves, Eugene's voice was calm. I believe you'll find several hundred gigabytes of classified documentation waiting in your inbox. Everything you need to shut down what's left of Sentinel Protocol. Reeves studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded to her team. Secure the scene. Get these two checked out. As paramedics approached, Maya turned to Eugene. What happens now? Now? He looked up at the stars. Now I testify, and hopefully we make sure this never happens again. Will you be safe? Safer than I've been in 3 years. He met her eyes. Thank you, Maya, for everything. She wanted to say something profound, something meaningful. Instead, she just nodded. Sometimes kindness didn't need words. 6 months later, Maya stood in her shop installing a new sign above the door. Hartley's Auto Repair and Veteran Services. All veterans welcome. The Sentinel Protocol hearings had dominated headlines for weeks. Eugene had testified before Congress, his words carrying the weight of truth that couldn't be ignored. Heads had rolled, contracts had been canceled, reforms had been promised. Whether those reforms would stick,
remained to be seen. But Maya had learned something through it all. One person's choice to do the right thing could ripple outwards in ways impossible to predict. She'd fixed a stranger's RV. That stranger had turned out to be a whistleblower who'd risked everything to stop something dangerous. And together, they'd proven that ordinary people could stand up to extraordinary power. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number, but this time she recognized it. "New RV running great, heading to Montana. Heard they need mechanics up there. Thought you might want to know." Maya smiled. "Stay safe, Eugene." "You too, Maya, and thank you for reminding me that good people still exist." She pocketed her phone and returned to work. Because that's what good people did. They showed up, they helped, they stood firm. Even when it was hard, especially when it was hard. And sometimes, if you were lucky, one act of kindness could change everything.
Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hits the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.